Listen, now that I think about it, I don't think we actually chose the 401k as our primary retirement vehicle. I think it was one that was kind of just offered to us, and companies gravitated towards it as having tax pre-tax money going in and then post-tax money coming out, which is really challenging to comprehend now that I'm on this side of that retirement conversation. So back when I was younger, I was in the military, we had a pension, we still have that pension. Most corporations that most people went to work with had a pension system in place. Over time, vehicles such as the IRA or the 401k started coming up as alternatives or additions to existing retirement vehicles, which was a wonderful thing. The 401k was actually sold as something that said, hey, pre tax dollars are going to go in. You won't even notice it. But then you'll be taxed down the road when you start to take money out, which sounded good at the time because we had 20 or 30 years to work with, invest in, let it grow. And taxation would happen down the road at some other time because it wasn't impacting us then. The thing that we missed, the thing that we didn't think about, or at least that I didn't think about, was that the tax rate would be much higher decades later. The other thing that I didn't think about was that the downturns in the market were going to significantly impact the amount that I have inside of my 401k because of my propensity for risk. When I filled out the risk assessment questionnaire and the few funds that I selected that my company had offered through the administrator, I then trusted and didn't look at it because it was a future thing that I would think about as I got closer to retirement. So as the market went up, I was happy. As the market came down, I thought, okay, we have more time to work with. And then at the end of that discussion, what we didn't take into consideration was the taxation component. I knew or thought I knew in my mind that I had a need for X amount of dollars per year to last me through retirement age. Retirement age is calculated at about 25 years of retirement time of life, from the time I'm 65 years old until the time that I'm 90. And that's how most calculations come. So let's say, for the sake of simple math, that I need $1 million to last that long, which is great. That's a million true dollars, though, that I need over the course of 25 years. However, if that $1 million balance is taxed, it diminishes the amount of money that I'm able to take every month. And it is absolutely taxed. And then, if in times like we're experiencing right now, inflation increases where the value of the dollar is even lower, then it will significantly impact my quality of life. And so that's what this channel is after. This channel is after make your money, keep your money. Let's take a look at some tax never strategies based on some of the lies that were told to us 30, 40 when we entered into the marketplace as things transitioned. Nobody chose the 401k, not you, not your parents, not one person in this country ever sat down and decided this is the best way for me to retire. The 401k was actually created by accident in 1978 as a footnote in a tax bill that had nothing to do with your retirement. And here we are 46 years later. It's the thing that your entire future has been riding on. Today, I want to show you exactly where it came from and what the numbers say and how it's working out. Because I think a lot of us at this stage of life recognize that the numbers aren't working out. And when I say at this stage of life, I'm talking about people that are in between the ages of 38 and 58. That's who this channel and that's who this video is for. My name is Rudy, and I've spent 25 years in the military, another 15 years in the marketplace, also in leadership at various different levels, in pastoral ministry, and specifically in coaching and counseling and all of the other things that we have been involved in over the years. We've built businesses, we've exited businesses, we've done several things along the way. And the money analysis piece is the one that demands the most amount of time and significant intentional planning, because when we get to, again, this stage of life, we want to make sure that we're on track to get where we need to go. This video and this channel is built towards education. It's not a sales pitch. If you like what it is that I'm talking about and you want to book a free call with me or with my team to learn a little bit more, then let's go ahead and do that. That information is going to be in the description for the video or somewhere on this channel. Go ahead and find it. You can also email us directly as well. So here in this video, we're talking about history and numbers. That's it. So if that doesn't interest you, then you might want to scroll on and look for one of the shorts that brings value, something that might interest you a little bit more. But if you stay with me, you're gonna hear about some things that will change how you look at your 401k account or your existing retirement portfolio. So the origin of the 401k in 1978, Congress passed something called the Revenue Act. Buried inside it was a small provision, Section 401, subsection K. Its actual purpose had nothing to do with everyday workers. It was written to close a loophole around how companies handle deferred bonuses and stock options for executives. That's it. That's the origin story. A technical fix in a tax bill, not a national retirement plan. The account that your entire retirement depends on was never designed to be a retirement plan. And so I want to let that sink in with you now. But there was somebody that came in that made some changes. A benefits consultant named Ted Benna read that provision in 1980, and he saw something that nobody else did: a way to let regular employees defer part of their salary tax free into an investment account. This would be a mistake that we're learning over time, but bear with me here. And I know most of you watching have ideas and you've probably done some research yourself and you know of other instruments or other benefits. And I say that's awesome. I want to hear about those too. Go ahead and drop those in the comments. If we disagree, that's okay. A channel that is built for education and for discourse, and I'd love to continue to have that with you. Let's hear about your experience and what it is that you're bringing to the table so that we can all get better at what it is that we're learning here. So Mr. Benna saw something nobody else did: a way to let regular employees defer part of their tax salary tax-free into an investment account. He pitched it to a client. They turned him down, worried about, guess what? IRS trouble. So he built the first 401k plan for his own company instead. A year later, in 1981, the IRS issued the rules that let employees fund these accounts straight out of their paycheck. And that single ruling is what set off everything that followed. Here's the part that actually matters to you. Before this, most companies offered pensions, and you might remember maybe your parents had pensions, plans where the employer guaranteed you an income for life and carried all the investment risk themselves. Once the 401k existed, companies realized something simple. It was far cheaper for them to hand employees a savings account and let the employee carry the risk instead. That's you and me. That's the average Joe worker that is now carrying the risk that the company previously carried, where they were supposed to take care of. They now left it up to us, who knows nothing about retirement planning, carry that risk. So over the following 2 decades, pensions went away. They went the way of the dodo bird. They quietly disappeared. And the 401k, a tool built for a company different purpose, became a way that an entire country was told to fund retirement. Even the people who built it will tell you this today. The original architects of the 401k have gone on record saying they never intended it to replace the pension system, and that the forecasts used to sell it in the early years were far too optimistic. As we've learned in our Social Security system, we recognize now that that's not a complete retirement plan, that we need supplementation. And so the supplementation for that landed on the pension plans and then shifted and landed on the 401k. So in addition to the company social security system, the country's social security system, the company offering for you is a plan that that is third party facilitated and one that which you participate in. And guess who carries all the risk? You, not the company. And it was sold with high optimistic returns. You inherited, if you're under the age of 40, a retirement system that even its own investors call an accident. So let's talk about where this accident has left us today in 2026. According to the Federal Reserve most recent national survey, they said that well over half American households, well over half of American households report having no dedicated retirement savings at all. This is the catastrophe. This is the issue. Over half of the United States has zero in retirement at all. And guess where they're looking to supplement their income? They're looking to Social Security, or they're continuing to be a part of the workforce because Social Security and their zero retirement assets don't accommodate their lifestyle in the retirement years. More than half of US households have no dedicated retirement account. They're not behind in their retirement planning, they have none. For households like my own, ages 55 to 64, the years right before retirement, this is why my wife and I and our business is so focused in this area right now, is because we are at the age of 55 that the making of this channel and this video are being put together. Right, the median amount. These are the statistics across the nation. The median amount of savings sits far below what's actually needed because, again, we put our money into the 401k and we never looked at it again. We just assumed and thought that it was going to be taken care of, that it was going to grow at a 6% or better rate of return, not taking into account the downturns in the market or the taxation when we pull it out. And therein lies the problem, ladies and gentlemen, is in the education piece, is that companies have this offering and it's okay, but nobody informs you about how to keep the money that is being earned. Nobody forces an assessment at age 35, at age 40, at age 45, at age 50, at age 55 to see if you're on track. Companies don't hold that responsibility. They put it back on you. And guess what happens? You don't pay attention to it because you're working, you're living, maybe paycheck to paycheck, maybe not, but you're working, have responsibilities. You don't have any time to go sit with an advisor, and therein lies part of the problem. And it's not you, it's statistically how things have been set up for us. So ages 55 to 64, the median amount is far below what's actually needed in retirement years. Chances are people don't even know what they have in their retirement amount. They don't even know if what they have is going to last the 20 plus years into retirement. Nobody has any idea. Financial researchers now put the number required for a regular retirement, not a high end quality of life, super lavish lifestyle type of retirement, but a regular retirement for the standard worker across the United States. We need to have at least $1.4 million in our retirement account. And guess what? Guess what the statistics say is the average amount. The average amount that most people have is about 250,000. So 25% or 20% or even less of what we actually need at $1.4 million to sustain 20 plus years in a retirement for one person, not let alone for a family. The typical household in our age bracket, 55 to 64, has less than that amount. The comfortable retirement number for 2026 in our country is estimated above 1.4 million. Most households in their late 50s only have a small fraction of that. So if you're hearing this or watching this and we're still in 2026, I want you to go and take a look at what you have and where you have it. You might have it across multiple vehicles. If you do, that's great. Encourage diversifying where your funds are, right? Now let's add the safety that was the safety net that was never meant to carry this, and that's Social Security. right? Social Security was designed from the start to replace about 40% of retirement income, never all of it. You were never intended to live on Social Security all by itself, never even most of it, right? And the Social Security Administration's own projections show the trust fund reserves being depleted within the next decade. Most of us will never see it. We'll never even see Social Security, which means that the benefit getting paid out is only out of ongoing tax revenue at a reduced level unless Congress is doing something about it today. So here's the honest math. Are you ready? We're going to do a little bit of tough love in this video. The pension's gone. The account that replaced it was never built for this job. And the backup system underneath it, Social Security, is running short on runway. So we are the first generation expected to fund an entire retirement on a tool that was never designed for the job. And I want to let that sink in because this is important. And if you're not passionate about this thing, then we need to get passionate about learning about this thing, right? Our entire generation and your children, if they're in the workforce, they're expected to fund an entire retirement on a tool that was never designed for the job with a safety net that's shrinking underneath you. Now, there are some departments still doing this well, so I don't want to negate the work of where pensions still exist. Primarily, at least from my experience, what I know of is in the areas of first responders, police officers, firefighters. Some um, union workers, trades workers still have pensions, which is fantastic. Railroad workers, I think, still have pensions, right? So in a workforce economy, if you're younger than the age of 25, seeing this information, consider that as part of your career path planning as well. Where do the pensions still exist that you can trust and gravitate towards? Now, at the same time, consider diversification. Don't just live under the pension system. I want you to put money, whether it's into an IRA or whether it's into another vehicle. I'm going to introduce a couple of other vehicles that can help you move money into, say this with me, tax never strategies. We don't want taxation ever to have an impact on these things. We want to be able to leave them to our family members that need them once we are no longer here. Because listen, if we're the first generation expected to fund an entire retirement on a tool that was never designed to carry it, then I better get to work in educating myself and making sure that all of my financial house is in order so that I can sustain retirement and then also leave an impact and a legacy for my family and not give up way too much to whether it's probate, whether it's taxation, whether it's at risk and exposed due to downturns in the market. We're going to talk about all those things on this channel. Pick your video and make sure you subscribe or do whatever you have to do. Get the bell ringing. I don't know what that means, but you do, because it's not our fault. I don't know what generation I'm in. Maybe I'm Gen X, I think, born in 1971. And then Gen Z came after that, wherever, right? But none of this is our fault. If you're sitting there doing the math on your own account right now and you're getting frustrated and passionate about it, I say I'm glad that you've arrived at being frustrated and passionate about it because it's been going on underneath our noses for decades and decades and decades. And I want to say this clearly. This is not a discipline problem about where and how you put your money. You didn't fail. We were handed a tool that was never tested for the job it ended up doing. We were sold this as a sure thing by people who, by their own admission, didn't know how it would turn out. That's a problem. We did what we were told. We contributed. We participated. We trusted the system that was handed to us. The gap that you're feeling right now isn't a reflection of your effort. It's a reflection of the tool. But listen, the good news is this, right? Once you understand how the tool actually works, its risk, its tax treatment, what it does and doesn't protect you from, and this is where we are. This is why we're keeping every dollar. This is what this channel is all about, right? We want to understand how these tools actually work, their risk, their tax treatment, what it does and doesn't protect you from. You can make very different decisions now going forward. That's what the rest of the videos in this series in here are all about. So now that we know where the 401k actually came from, what the numbers say about where that's left most people, in the next video, we get into what the wealthy have done differently and for decades. Right? The wealthy have known about these strategies for a long time. And this information, this education is making its way into blue collar America, into the general workforce. Right. And but before you opt out of your 401k, before you decide to move assets elsewhere, let's make sure that we're educated in those things. Right. We're going to get into what the wealthy have been doing differently for decades. Right. These are tax advantaged tools that most of us have never been shown. Right. Knowing the history doesn't fix the gap, but it's the first honest step towards closing it. So if this has opened your eyes, I want you to, like I said, subscribe. This is part of an ongoing series that we'll talk about each week. If you have ideas or thoughts or questions, I want you to put them in the chat or the comment section, or email the show directly, email the channel directly. Either myself or one of my team will respond as quickly as possible, right? We get more specific. I want you to not only make your money, but I want you to keep your money. See you on the next one.